Welcome into the Quest Number 9 podcast. My name is Seth Warner, and on this podcast, we talk about Kentucky basketball from a fan's perspective. And on this episode, we're going to be talking about Kentucky getting 2 wins in 2 days at the SEC tournament and what this just means for the Cats and what Kentucky was able to overcome and establish in this game with a 6-point victory, winning 78-72 in that game, and then also getting a 87-82 win over LSU. Just what we've kind of learned over those 2 games and what we're now going to have to see going into this Friday game versus Florida, the number 4 team ranked in the country right now, the number 1 team in the SEC, won the SEC regular season, and what Kentucky's going to have to do to establish their will and not allow Florida control the game and establish their pace of the game. What they were able to do this past Saturday, where Kentucky was down as many as 20, but was able to crawl back and ending up only losing by 7, having it all the way down to 5 with like less than 30 seconds left, trying to make a game of it, but really was not able to capitalize on some of their opportunities. Kind of a late roar back from the Cats. But in that LSU game, Kentucky was able to control large portions of the game from outside of that 4-0 start by LSU. Then Kentucky was able to take control, had chances, a 12-point lead to extend the lead to 15, and then Kentucky could have taken over and really ran away with this game. But LSU clawed back and was able to put themselves in some opportunities to win this game. We had a Brandon Garrison 17-5 game, some just really good performances offensively, scoring 87 points, allowing 82 points with 23 and 16 from Ortega, but still allowing 82 points in that game. And then the Missouri-Kentucky game where Kentucky scored 78 points, only allowing Missouri to score 72, where Kentucky had as much of a lead as 16, getting outscored in the second half by 3, where Kentucky had a 9-point lead at the half, and Kentucky had a 3-headed monster, the 3-headed goats as they've been calling them on social media and stuff. Colin Chandler, Ortega Oweh, and Denzel Aberdeen. Each of them had 15 or more. Colin Chandler had 15, Ortega Oweh had 21, and Denzel Aberdeen had 16. They were just during that stretch, that down stretch, we didn't really get to talk a whole lot about that in the instant reaction. If you want to go hear me talk more about the game in my instant reaction, go back and watch that. But there were a bunch of Kentucky started out really hot inside that 2-foot range. We talked about our friend Brandon Ramsey, that inside the restricted arc, inside the lane, the block charge line, Kentucky's really good, but outside of that, they have a tendency to leave it short, miss it hard, and this is what you kind of saw from the Cats, just missing some easy bunnies that weren't directly at the rim, but were 2 steps off, like Kentucky should and needs to finish to be a great team where some of these things they're doing is just good team worthy. But the Cats, like I said, were able to have 3 guys in double figures. Mo Diabate had 9, able to score almost 80 points against a very shifty Missouri defense who plays a lot of zone, has a lot of combinations of different defenses they're going to show you, showing different stuff, making it really hard for you to figure out exactly what they're doing, exactly what they're planning, and getting Kentucky a rhythm was an issue in this game for the Cats, not being able to play to their standard or to their rhythm of how Kentucky wanted to play. But Kentucky gave up 32 to Mitchell. He had 32 on 21 shots. He made 2 threes. One was banked in, one was a swish, but he had seven rebounds, 1 assist, 4 turnovers. He averages about 4 assists a game. And Kentucky had talked about after the game that kind of the game plan was to try to make Mitchell beat you and try to keep everyone else in check. There was only one other guy in double figures, that was OT Burnett, the 6'4" sophomore, really physical guard, more of a defensive guard, but had some really tough drives. Only attempted 1 3, went 0 for 1, but ended 5 for 11 from the field. He had seven boards and 7 assists. He also had 3 turnovers. This is a very turnover-prone Missouri team. As if you watched the game, you saw they ended up with 15 turnovers. Kentucky only ended up with 9. That was really the big difference for the Cats, especially early when Mitchell did not have the early production, where Kentucky only allowed him, I believe, to have 6 points in the first half. So he went completely off in the second half, really down the stretch where Missouri was able to get themselves back in the game, where Kentucky was up 16 with, I believe, like 13 minutes left, allowing this Missouri team to really claw themselves back in this game, making it more and more competitive as the game went on and putting this Kentucky team more and more uncomfortable as Kentucky, similar to the day before, just did not put them away and be able to kind of run away with this lead. Kentucky has had a tendency to do in a lot of these games where the Wildcats just have not been able to maximize on their opportunities and just maximize what they thought they could do and not turning the ball over at a really high rate. I thought helped the Cats, even though they didn't maximize on Missouri's turnovers. Had one where Kentucky could have put it up 9 with just about 5 minutes left. In transition, Colin Chandler kind of loses the ball, saves it back into Otega Owe, and it was kind of a bad shot. That was just not a very good rhythm play. And overall, it was just the offense was out of whack and just did not have a lot of rhythm to it, especially in that big stretch where Jasper Johnson had a bad shot, where Kentucky was kind of forcing things. It just was not in a great rhythm for the Cats, where Kentucky had 4 different guys play 30-plus minutes. Andre Yelovich played 18, Cam Williams played 13, and Mo Diabate played 20. But even though those high minute totals, I didn't see a whole lot of wear and tear and like lack of energy from the Cats. Maybe one time from Otega Owe, he was in the corner, kind of off ball during Missouri's big run. Kentucky just was – he was not super engaged, kind of had his hands on his knees trying to catch his breath. But overall, I thought this Kentucky team, even though having 2 games in 2 days and having another game up, I feel like they're still putting themselves in a good position to have a good performance tomorrow and be able to maximize on all of their opportunities and be able to come out strong against a Florida team that hasn't played in 6 days. And Kentucky's already played 2 games this week. But for Kentucky, kind of moving on to that Florida game, Kentucky going to be really key to try to get contained in transition. To me, this is like the top 5 things: contain transition, try to get Thomas Houck into foul trouble. He really hurt the Cats in the last game. He had 20. He had 17 in the first half, where he had a large portion of their first run where they were able to put Kentucky in an 11-0 deficit, where Kentucky just really was not able to get out of that hole and get out of that deficit early. And they were able to maximize on those points, keep on driving the ball, be able to stay tight enough and contest threes, but not be contesting and deterring threes, but not be giving up drives and still being able to pack the defense in a little bit. We got to get Boogie Bland and some of these other guys to miss some threes from the perimeter. We're going to try to push. I know these guys are big and strong, and it's one of the best front courts in the country. We need to push them off their spot. When Chengulu tries to catch the ball in the post, he should catch it 2 steps off the block. He wants to get it at the block. We're going to try to push him out to 2 steps off the block and try to catch him there, and then probably double. If I was Kentucky, it depends on – I'd probably try to double from Boogie Bland's man, especially the last couple times we played him. He's had tendencies to shoot it well lately, but he's the one guy that if I had to pick other guards to shoot it, he would probably be the guy I would be picking. It would be either him or Condon, one of their other forwards, Condon would be preferable. Not really a stretch guy, averaging about 15 points. Really physical forward who can really rebound. Not much of a floor spacer at 6'11", but is still really solid and really versatile player for the Gators, allowing them to just do so many different things, rebounding wise, physicality wise, and still has a really good passing feel to him, averaging almost 4 assists a game, only shooting 15%, almost 16% from three. So I'll be willing to double. But for Kentucky, you're just going to have to pick your poison and understand that if you push them off the catch, you're going to have a better opportunity. It's going to be another important thing is Malachi Moreno staying out of foul trouble. He had a lot of issue with that the last time these two teams played. He fouled out both of the times. He fouled out at the very end of the game, the last one, and then fouled out late second half in the first one with about 5 minutes to go. Chinyalu got in foul trouble the first time these two teams played. That would also be important, trying to get it downhill, trying to get one, maybe two of these bigs in foul trouble, trying to slow down some of their size and give Kentucky some confidence is really going to be important. It's going to be important also to limit Florida's three-point shooting. We're wanting them to shoot 30% or under, and we want them to make under six makes on under 30% shooting. If we can get them to do a combination of that, I think you're putting yourselves in a really good spot against a very talented Florida team. Also, the rebound margins that have been close in both these contests needs to be close again. Florida can't have more than, I would say, 6 more offensive rebounds than Kentucky if we can keep those possession margins close. And those are some of the main things. Kentucky also has to shoot the ball well. I want Kentucky to shoot somewhere in the 37, 38 range, and I want them to be at that 8-9 make mark, especially if Florida gets close to that 6 makes mark. Kentucky's going to have quite a bit of an edge there, especially if the Wildcats aren't going to be able to get some of these bigs in foul trouble and do some of the things they've done in the past against this Florida team. Condon, a guy that in either one of these games has not been able to get in foul trouble. The second time these two teams played, he picked up an early foul, and Kentucky just was not able to take advantage of that and get him his second, making him sit. But overall, I think Kentucky just needs to bring their physicality, eliminate transition points, be on connected shooters, understand who we're double teaming from and which guys and which matchups that the Cats are going to have to pick and choose their poison about how Kentucky is going to limit this offense. We need to maximize our chances. When Florida does turn it over, Kentucky needs to maximize their opportunities and create those into legitimate points at the other end. And then also Kentucky kind of wrapped up with the transition points. We need to eliminate turnovers from their diet pretty much. I want us to be somewhere in that under 8 range for the Cats. That's going to be really important. We can keep that kind of out of rhythm, out of balance, and overall just limit some of their overall perimeter shot making. The one guy that is a really good shooter from the perimeter, they've all been kind of steadily improving their percentages over the last couple of months. But Yazar, he made a bunch of threes the first time these two teams played. Kentucky did a better job the last time, and he's been averaging about 11 points per game on 46% from three. So especially with him and Lee are the two that we're trying to especially limit attempts. If the other ones we can kind of still contest hard, but still be able to double off of Kentucky, I think if we can get some misses, especially him, we can limit the attempts from him and make Lee make some tough threes, we can deal with it and make Bland shoot some tough ones. But Kentucky just needs to find a bounce tomorrow and try to create a rhythm in their offense. It's going to be hard against this really good Florida defense that has a lot of versatility, a lot of length, a lot of size. But I think Kentucky will maximize their opportunities if they want to have a chance of winning this game and keeping this Florida team that they've made some runs against but just not have been able to get over the hump. And we'll see what the Cats do tomorrow. And that's all from the Question 9 podcast. If you like this content, please like and subscribe. You can go find me at Question 9 on Instagram and Twitter to stay up to date. I'll post on there when I come out with new episodes. And I'll see you next time. Go Cats.